Hi guys, welcome to Antique Sprinklers. The studio hasn't quite recovered from painting the pig blue. That's not a euphemism. So we're outside. Today we're going to take a trip back to the Buckner line in from the late 30s to the end of the 1950s, but most probably in that time period between about 1945 and 1959. With their what are colloquially known as dual drive sprinklers. Buckner called them dual action. And this is also a period of time that is right around the death of William A. Buckner. And he passed in 1954, I believe. I'll correct that if I'm wrong about it. And so for the last period of time when these sprinklers were available, the company, half of it was owned by his widow, his third wife, Mona Buckner. And the other half was owned by his partner, Harry Cleason, who joined Buckner back in the 1920s. William Buckner stole him away from the foundry and fabrication shop where he sourced his sprinklers, built to his design, but prior to their having their own factory and foundry. And so to advance the business, William Buckner convinced Harry Cleason to join him, and that turned out to be a very good move for both of them. But prior to his death, about 15 years or so prior, 1938, 1939-ish, William Buckner had patented a sprinkler that was very similar to an impact, but had adjustable speed control as one of its major features. And I think in part it was designed this way as an attempt to improve on the Rainbird impact, but also to honor that Rainbird patent that wouldn't run out until about the early 1950s. And so he made a sprinkler that was both wedge and impact driven. And the early models had what looks like a frost cap on them. And they were, that was a bronze frost cap. And you can see where still in this earlier version, the threads for that cap are still there, but because of the way the support goes down to the range nozzle, there's no way to thread a cap on there, so that was never intended here. And so the sprinkler was made in 1/2 inch through 3 inch, and the 2 and 3 inch sprinklers are really magnificent. Triple nozzle, the 3 inch one will do about 2 acres of irrigation all on its own, one sprinkler, and I've got a couple of those. And they were also in just full circle or adjustable part circle. And there's some very interesting designs in those part circles, and I'm lucky to have a couple of them. But I believe we're looking at 2 different generations of the exact same sprinkler here. It's a 1 inch sprinkler. It has Buckner's patented sand bearing on it. And I'm going to say that this guy is from the last half of the 1940s, maybe into the 1950s. And then this one would be the one that finished off the run of that line to about 1959 or 1960, probably starting in the early to mid 1950s. This one has the model number 720. I have a little bit of performance data for that line. This one is stamped 257, and that 200 series does match some agricultural model numbers from the 1940s that Buckner was using. So it's possible that that's the model number on it. But what's different, so I mentioned, I believe this one is earlier. One of the reasons is it still has those, let's call them vestigial threads where the frost cap would have screwed onto. And then it has adjustable, and granted on an impact sprinkler, you tighten the spring and bend it again, you've adjusted the tension on it and its speed of rotation. But these were meant to be adjusted in the field, on the fly. And so you have this crown here, and you can see the indentations on it. And then there's a brass screw sitting behind the fulcrum here, and that goes down and fits into those indentations. So you can back that screw out, turn this in or turn it out, and either speed up or slow down the rotation of the sprinkler. And with the wedge drive, these were meant to be slow rotating kind of affairs, and you'll see that when you see it in operation. So I'm going to say this guy is up to 80 years old, and I'm going to say this guy is probably up to 70 years old. They both operate really well. This one was a big mess when I got it, and it's still kind of semi-mess. I've cleaned it up quite a bit. This guy has the 7/32 by 3/16 arrangement, and it wants to put out around 14 gallons a minute, which is really maxing out what I can do here. And I think I'm getting probably the 45 to 48 feet they say that you can get at that flow and pressure. And this guy has the 1/4 by 3/16 arrangement, and it really wants to be up closer to 18 gallons a minute, and I simply can't do that. As a result, on the range, I lose, I don't know, probably 10 to 12 feet of range, so I'm probably doing 40 feet-ish instead of the 50 some odd feet I should get in terms of radius. In terms of diameter, they're both meant to be between 100 and 120 feet of coverage. And like I said, they made them in all different sizes. By 1959, they'd discontinued all of the dual drives except for the 720 model here. And I'll try to include some pictures so you can see better the different features on here. But they're incredibly well built. The wedge is brass. The springs are copper in both of them, which is not great, but it's what they had to work with at the time. The nozzles are yellow brass, and the rest of it is very heavy-duty bronze. Another thing to note is if you look at the 8600 series of impacts that came out in the last half of the 50s, they look very, very, very similar to this style. They have this a noticeable angle, noticeable trajectory there, a sharp one, and a very long lever. And I think it was a very natural progression from these into that 8600 series of impacts, and that probably happened with the expiration of Rainbird's patent on the impact sprinkler. They did make an 8600 that had a wedge if you wanted that, and they had one with a frost cap if you wanted that. They were much less expensive than these guys to manufacture. So I think they figured out that they could cover all the needs of a farmer, but for a lot less money than what they were putting into these sprinklers. But they're incredibly well built. They're beautiful pieces of American manufacturing, and I hope that you enjoy watching them in action. Thanks so much.